Today, I'm going to be breaking down Mad Love by Alkaline, where as usual, I'm going to be talking you through the various elements that I'm picking up on as we go through it. Okay, so this track absolutely bangs in my opinion. We've got some really nice examples of some switch ups in flow delivery, especially in terms of the rhythmic pattern and how Alkaline absolutely executes this to perfection. We've got some really nice, what we're going to call female vocal layering within both the verse and the chorus to really help enhance that. We've got some nice shifts and changes within the production, which we're going to talk about, and overall just the vibe of this track is absolutely banging. Right, let's get into some new music. Okay, right, we're going to stop it there because we are about to go into the first verse. So let's talk about what we've heard both in the intro and in the chorus. Okay, so let's talk intro. So when we get opened up, we get a very subtle cymbal hit. And at the same time, we also get those guitars come in that are driving the main melody of the track. We got some female vocal layering that comes in as well, or what we're going to call female vocal layering. And the reason why I say that is because in today's world, they can literally take a man's voice and make it sound like a female. But just for ease of reference, we are going to call it female vocaling. So we get some oohs in there. They're being nicely layered, nicely harmonized. Now, another thing to pay attention to is that you notice on every other bar, another instrument comes into the mix, which is at a higher range. I can't quite make out what the instrument is, but first bar, it's not there. Second bar, boom, it's in the mix. Third bar, gone again. Fourth bar, boom, it comes back into the mix. As we get towards the back end of the intro, this is where we hear some core percussive elements come in. We get some shakers, we get some snare hits. Now, what you'll notice is that there's no big transitions that take us out of the intro into the chorus. Now, for aspiring producers, artists, this is perfectly fine because the intro only gives us the bare bones stuff. So when we shift into the chorus, which is where the kick drum and the bass comes in, it doesn't sound disjointed, it doesn't sound unnatural. Now, shifting over to the chorus, couple of things I want you to pay attention to. So the first one is that kind of higher range instrument that I was talking to you about that occurs on every other bar within the intro. That's removed from the mix. That doesn't come in at all. But also what occurs in that chorus part is though that female vocal layering kind of carries over. So we get the oohs in at the start. We get some layering on some of those back end phrases, but we also get some follow-up vocals in there as well. Let's go back. Let's listen. Right, guitars. There's that instrument. There are the oohs. Right, percussion's in now. Right, chorus coming in. Boom. Kick drum. Bass. There's that vocal layering. Instruments back in there now. Listen. There. Okay, right, I'm going to stop it there. I want to discuss the first verse. And the reason being is because we're actually about to shift into a second verse. We're not going into a pre-chorus or a chorus. So it makes sense just to very quickly discuss some of the shifts and changes that have occurred within the first verse. Okay, so let's talk about the most obvious thing first, and that is the flow, or at least the rhythmic pattern of the flow in the first verse. You notice that it's different to that of the chorus. Now, this is not uncommon because typically verses have got a lot more kind of flexibility and freedom to play around with those rhythm and flows than what a chorus does. And the reason for that is because, you know, the chorus is the hook, right? This is what's supposed to grab your attention. It's supposed to reel you in, and it's supposed to be memorable, and that can be hard to do if you've got all of these different rhythms and flows and all this sort of stuff happening within a chorus. The second thing that I want to draw your attention to is actually two elements, right? So the first one is, we'll go back to the intro and just kind of cast your mind back to the instrument that I said comes in on every other bar. Well, that comes back into the mix on the first verse. But there is also a subtle change that happens also on every other bar, and that is a clap that occurs on the snare. So again, you know, for aspiring producers, artists, it's not just the elaborate things that make a difference. It can be a combination of small and subtle things that really make a difference to your track. And this is an example of that. Now, obviously, we continue to hear that kind of female vocal layering happening in the first verse. But it's not as common as what it is in the chorus for obvious reasons. And then the final thing that I want to draw your attention to is what happens at the back end. So I've already said we're getting no pre-chorus, we're getting no chorus, we're just going into a second verse. So rather than just go into that second verse, what they do is they give us a slight split, almost like a bit of a cool down. Right, and if you listen to that cool down, what you notice is that, you know, there are slight differences, but it is essentially just the intro repeating itself. Let's go back. Let's listen. Verse. There's that instrument. Claps. Now we're into the intro part again, right? Second verse now. That flow bangs, mate. Still in the second verse. Okay, right, we are actually about to go now into a chorus, right? So this second verse has been quite long. There has been a few shifts and changes, so let's talk about those. So the first thing I want to talk about, because it absolutely bangs, I'm not going to talk about it for too long though, because I have already mentioned it, but it is that flow, man. Like, you listen to the way that Alkaline is consistently playing around with that kind of rhythm throughout the entirety of that second verse. It absolutely bangs. The second thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that the second verse is significantly longer than the first. But what I like in terms of the production is the fact that they give us a little bit of a cool down, like literally in the middle of that second verse. It's almost like they're going to take us out of the second verse into a pre-chorus or a chorus, but instead we just get a continuation of the second verse. Now, there are some common themes that occur. So that female vocal layering, that's in there. That instrument that we've spoken about before that was in the intro occurs on every other bar. That makes an appearance. And just, you know, one other thing to pay attention to is that you notice that when we first hit the second verse, there's actually no kick drum. Right, it's just the bass that's present. So you've got all of these things that are going on that the production team are doing to, you know, keep it interesting, keep it moving, keep you engaged, because that second verse has been extended. Now listen, I'm going to go back, not all the way because it is long, but I will go back just a few and we can try and pick up on some of those elements. There's the cool down. Right, then we're gonna get full on in a minute. Boom. Continuation of the verse. Chorus, layering of the vocals, higher range instrument back in, outro now. Bangs, mate. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see more breakdown and analysis videos, there'll be things popping up on the screen right now. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.